On board with Jimmy Vasser going down the long back straightaway. We can see him shift up from 5th to 6th gear there, Paul. On the brakes, just at 205 miles an hour down the back straightaway. They're pulling 4 Gs through turns 3 and 4. There's a big bump.
Yellow, and it's Robby Gordon. Oh no, Robby Gordon, who came into this race with high hopes. And in fact, many people felt that he was capable of at least getting on the podium. Well, there's good news. Robby Gordon climbs out of the car. Perhaps in a sad way, better news for the team, because they will be able to load up and get out of here earlier than expected. But what a terrible disappointment. Kart safety team wants to make sure he is fine, though he climbed out pretty quickly, and we have our first yellow of the day. So the field will slow with Montoya, followed by Tracy, Carpentier, Castro Neves. The top 4. Greg Moore is in 5th. We'd mentioned that Robby Gordon was running in 10th place. So what happened? Well, you can tell very little from that. He's already solidly against the wall. Looked like a very quick spin.
But, Paul, what we are seeing is that for the very first test of this new energy-absorbing restraint device, you can see that the left front wheel is staying with the car. What we are seeing is the left rear wheel coming down, and now we're on board. See if we can get a better view of what happened. Wow, Paul, he got down low there. There's a big bump on the entry, and as he went over the bump, the car snapped ends. Nothing a driver can do at that point. You're just a passenger, and it's surprising to see it happen so early in this run.
Boy, and did you see how fast Robby got his hands off that wheel as it twisted back and forth? So the Motorola 300 slowed for the moment. Juan Montoya jumped to the start, still the leader.
You can hear 2 downshifts there, Paul. Normally in qualifying, it's only... Whoa! A big move by B.J. Jones. He got right down on the inside on the rumple strips, and those rear tires were just a little bit wider than the fronts as far as how far they stick out. He got on it, stepped right out. He did a great job of saving it.
Looking at the Kmart telemetry for P.J. Jones.
Watch the acceleration over 200 miles an hour as he comes down the pit straightaway. Hard on the brakes, downshifting
now,
2 gears.
He's going to come out completely because we've got one of the Penske cars in trouble, and that's Marquez. So Tarso Marques, who had in fact been involved in a battle a little bit earlier, catches the wall, and we have our second caution of the day. But again, obviously, no problem for Tarso. He climbed immediately out of the car, though he left quite a bit of Penske debris. Now he sits down. Let's hope he's okay.
Yeah, he had quite a bit of a limp as he came down the banking there, Paul. And I tell you, he'll get chewed out for getting out of the car that quick, because the kart safety medical team wants you to remain in the car until they get there. Crossing the track in front of other cars isn't the best idea in the world. Plus, you may not know you've got injuries because of the adrenaline that's pumping through you. They want you there until they get there. Although your natural reaction is to get clear of the thing that just tried to hurt you.
Now we've got a replay of the crash. We'll actually join right at the end of it. There it is, already against the wall and coming off the wall. Though most of the hit obviously came to the rear end of the car. You can see how fast he threw off the steering wheel and started to climb out of the car. Again, that fire, that's oil within the turbocharger in most cases, or the gearbox that lights up when it contacts a hot surface, and then it burns off quickly.
It was a little bit later in the corner than Robby Gordon's crash. We'll have to see if we can find a better replay, but even at this point, Paul, they've burned some fuel. If his car is trying to transition from that understeer to a neutral or oversteer car, and it's 33 laps in, and I knew it'd be around 35, 40 laps, that big bump that's on the entry of turn 3 is all it takes at these reduced speeds than they've run all weekend to cause the car to step out and swap ends on you.
That's Christian. He's back running in 6th. Bright yellow helmet there. 9 cars in the lead pack. 5 more on the tail end of the lead pack as the green flag comes out for Michael Andretti. Now they're intervening cars, but that green and white car, that's Paul Tracy as he tries to make a move. Comes inside Alex Barron, takes Barron. Look at this, oh, 3 wide, and there's trouble. Ryan Herta gets tagged, and he's into the wall. And that's Carpentier, of course. Carpentier, who was running third, and he gets together with Brian Herta as they come back to green. And that section of the track apparently is not 3 vehicles wide.
Well, and they had a big traffic jam, and as they crossed from the inside and the outside, they just ran into a territorial dispute, and unfortunately, it's one of those situations where you can't get that big of a car going that fast into such a small area.
Now keep an eye on the blue car there. Boy, he just gets slammed off.
And it was one of those situations, Paul, where I think Brian got squeezed from the 2 cars going past him. He backed off, and what happened is that they just made wheel-to-wheel contact. Carpentier hard on the brakes as Brian Herta got out of the throttle there. No place to go, and they're into the fence.
Yeah, Brian Herta running a lap down just got caught up by everybody battling for the front of the field. Montoya to the outside.
And that's what happened as Montoya went around the outside. Franchitti went around the inside. Carpentier with a great run. Brian Herta came way out of, well, he was on the brakes, to be honest with you, Paul, just trying to give those guys some room as they sandwiched him. And Carpentier with all that speed on the way in as Brian backed out of it, collected him. And he was, as we could see, Patrick was hard on the brakes trying to avoid it, but there was just nothing he could do at that point.
So that quick, we are back to caution again at the Motorola 300. Michael Andretti still stays as the leader. We'll be back after this message and a word from your ABC station.
Very hot in the cockpits. It can reach temperatures of 135 degrees, a very difficult environment to work in.
Oh, I love that techie stuff, especially the heat in the under tray part. Roberto Moreno still staying in this fight in 4th place, Marty Reed.
Yeah,
oh, take a look at this. Montoya trying to get up through the field, now makes his move on Tracy, and that brings Franchitti in contact with Tracy. Franchitti comes way down on the inside to battle with Paul Tracy. Let's not forget last year. Here it is again. Franchitti and Tracy get together, 2nd and 3rd place, both in trouble.
A repeat,
but Franchitti
Paul.
is able to get it going again.
And I tell you, that was some great car control by Dario Franchitti. That, what he did is nearly impossible to keep the car going around the same arc of the corner. It was brilliant, but boy, I'm glad I'm not on the headset with Barry Green right now, Paul.
Oh, man, I was just thinking, I was about to say, don't forget Houston last year where the 2 of them got together. And
or
bam.
St. Louis last year, for that fact, on the first lap going into turns 3.
Here were the 2 of them battling.
You can see Dario is as low as he possibly can go, Paul. Paul Tracy tried to take him down to the inside. Dario held his ground. Paul started to squeeze him. And trust me, you can't get on those rumple strips without serious consequences. And unfortunately, they made contact. Paul Tracy making heavy contact with the outside wall.
Oh, but a nice bit of a save for Franchitti. Wow.
Now, you can see Dario moved up just a little bit, but when you're that low on the paint, the car will naturally wash up. He came up maybe a foot, but there just wasn't racing room to go through there side by side because Paul had left him no additional room.
You want to assign a fault there, Parker?
No, Paul, not at all.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those things. We saw it with Carpentier and Michael Andretti at Milwaukee. We've seen it in the past. We managed to see just earlier Greg Moore and Max Pappas get away with it, but as we see it, looks like Tracy just tried to stay as low as possible. Franchitti came up just a little bit, and when you're running that close in open-wheel cars, an inch is sometimes just too much, Paul.
Paul Tracy's 2nd DNF this year as a result of an accident. Remember his incident at Long Beach. So Paul Tracy was running up in the top 3, as was his teammate, and they're out. We'll be back after this message and a word from your ABC station.